G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to the Rundown Under with Mags. Sorry for no Rundown Under intro or any of the normal music that I use. I still have to relocate that and recreate all of those assets that were lost in the recent issues with my computer. But anyways, I did promise that this year I would be doing a Rundown Under once every month to keep you up to date with anything that's going on the channel in regards to shows outside of emergency broadcasts, which I hope I don't have to do any more of for the year. At least I shouldn't have to, because I just put a bit of effort into making sure that this should never be a problem twice. Anyway, let's get into that first. The last time I did an update was a little over 2, nearly 3 weeks ago, and I had a little bit of an issue with the computer, if you'll recall. Thankfully, that has been corrected on this end, as you would have noticed. The 3TB drive that I had was cactus. It was completely unrecoverable. And as it turns out, apparently the Seagate drives in particular, and that particular model and size, have a very bad habit of doing exactly that. I didn't actually realize it was a drive that was going to give me any problems, but I probably should have looked into that in the future. So it's been replaced with a 2TB, slightly slower Western Digital drive. It will do for the moment. However, to give me a little bit more performance in the gaming, I've also picked up an additional 250GB SSD that I'm now running. So I'm now running 3 SSDs. In fact, I'll make sure I've got some images. I've got a couple of photos from when I was doing the build into the new case. So you can see the SSDs. The main hard drive in the bottom of the case, you'll see the power supply unit shield that runs the entire length of the case. There is actually a drive cage in the front of that for mounting standard magnetic drives, and it keeps them safe and out of the way. All the cables are out of the way, so the case runs incredibly cool, which was really, really, really good considering the heat wave we've just had at this end of the world. I'm actually rather grateful I built that, and I ended up having to get a new case as well, because during the process of trying to repair all the issues with the computer, my young son came in and I didn't see him come into the room and got under my feet and tripped me. And I basically had the choice between landing on my son or landing on my computer case. I chose the second option. It would be better. I figured the metal would be able to take it. Turns out I had a really cheap case, and I nearly folded the thing in half. Thankfully, none of the computer components were damaged, and the PC was off at the time. But the case had no side panels on it, so it had no bracing or support whatsoever because I was working on it at the time. And so got a new case as well. And that's working out wonderfully. So the computer is now all fixed up. The photo back there as well with the graphics card, it looks like it's on a slight lean. It is, because at that point, I'm still playing with the cabling. I hadn't quite finished it, and I hadn't put the support for the video card in yet. So that's all it was. It's sitting fine now once the supports are all in place. The cards are getting so big, and that particular card has a massive cooling unit on it. They're getting that big, you need an extra support now that's you have to attach inside of the case in order to be able to hold the weight. The cards are getting monstrous. So anyways, hardware-wise, the computer is now all fixed and all back in order and working properly. I've also updated to Windows 10, which is something that I didn't think I was going to say anytime soon. Yeah, as it turns out, it's not that bad. There is still a couple of things I really don't like about it. In particular, its backwards compatibility with old games. I did have an intention to, this year, in the first half of this year, to actually finish my old Crimson Skies series and to start up a new series for a game called Starlancer. Starlancer was a game that was developed by Chris Roberts prior to Freelancer, and it was probably the last combat, semi-realistic space-style sim combat game that Chris actually made before he's come in to make Squadron 42. And there's a couple of things that were just watching what's going inside of Star Citizen that kept tweaking my memory back to that particular game. And I was going to do a playthrough of it and then do by comparisons to what actually shows up in that game to what we see inside of Squadron 42 and inside of Star Citizen. Because I think there's some interesting parallels in there that give you an idea of exactly how his development process works and what he's got in mind for the universe. He seems to have a fairly solid idea on it. But unfortunately, the Windows 10 doesn't support backwards compatibility for games. I'm not even entirely sure at this point. I haven't been able to, at this point, get Crimson Skies to even work. And Starlancer is infinitely more complex, because it's It's just one of those games that doesn't like running on modern systems, so that's the downside of Windows 10. A lot of the old games that I like to play, if they haven't gone through and been washed over by GOG and fixed up for work to make them work on modern systems, a lot of them simply won't operate unless you can get lucky and find a fan patch for them, but there doesn't seem to be too many of those. But in terms of the performance end on the other side, it is a much better looking operating system and it is much faster, so I'm pretty happy with the update there. And that of course brings us to the other software, the games, because obviously this was all lost. Most of the installs were on the main hard drive. At this point, pretty much everything that I make a series on has been reinstalled. I still have to set up the mods for Silent Hunter, but thankfully I've managed to get that installed, and I managed to get a workaround installed for the German languages. I haven't tested it yet, but I'm pretty confident now I will now have the Germans actually speaking German in the submarine, which is going to be much nicer. Now, I know I've been getting many questions about my Above the Cliffs of Dover series. I was planning on bringing it back prior to the crash. Obviously, I lost the game, but it was actually a little bit more than that. I also lost the scripts for the episodes that I had planned, as well as all my scratch overlays for making the film look like it was aged and something period from the time. I've lost all of the branding, all of the intros, the logos, everything. I lost a lot. I am still going to try and bring it back again. I just need to rewrite all the scripts and recreate all the assets to make the series again from scratch, and that's going to take even more time. But thankfully, I'm not in too much of a rush there for the moment. For those of you who haven't been keeping up with IL-2 Cliffs of Dover news, recently they managed to get the source code back off Ubisoft. I believe it was Ubisoft that was holding it. Anyways, they managed to get the source code back, which means that the Team Fusion mods that I was using, and many do use, as it makes massive improvements to that particular game. In fact, anybody with Cliffs of Dover should be running the Team Fusion mods. But yeah, they've basically been granted those source codes. The mod developers have been granted the source codes from the actual holders of the IL-2 title, 777, and as a result, the Team Fusion mod pack is going to become an official patch and will be available through Steam for installation. And more than that, having access to the source code is allowing them to do even more with it. It's highly likely that Cliffs of Dover is going to have the full VR support very close into the near future, as well as a whole host of new updates and an entirely new campaign. We know they were developing a North Africa campaign, but now they can actually implement that campaign using the actual source code, being able to create it as a proper expansion would be created. And again, that will be available on Steam and in the update. So for the moment, I'm actually waiting until those updates become available, then I can download them, make setting up the mods a hell of a lot easier because it'll just be installed directly through Steam, and that buys me time to write at least the next couple of scripts. I've already spoken to Mad. You know Mad from the comics that show up at the start of some of the videos as he makes them. I have a couple more of those coming, by the way, as well. But I've spoken to him about creating some assets for the series as well, because there are some things that I can't create within the game engine itself. For example, if I want to do a scene with the characters inside of, say, an English pub, an off-duty moment, there's no way to create that within the game. So I've asked Mad to work on a couple of little art assets here and there, and hopefully we'll have something pop up there so I can do some of these scenes away, a bit of the off time that soldiers and pilots go through. But yes, other than that, everything else has been reinstalled. I have not taken the time to check out much with Subnautica yet, but I am probably going to throw a video up. The Civilization campaign is now working perfectly fine. There should be videos up on that very soon. KSP is running beautifully on the SSD, fully modeled up now. I've had no problems with the client at all. I've actually completed 6 missions, which is going to be about 3 videos worth of content at this point. I just have to start cutting it together and actually turning it into videos for you guys. DCS is kicking along nicely. I've actually had a thought about DCS. I've been playing the individual missions here and there, but I'm likely going to try actually starting to play through the campaigns now that I have a little bit more flexibility. Obviously, the big thing that was a blocker for this, because I did try it in the past with the SU-33 campaign, was that I couldn't use the markers, so I would regularly run into issues where I couldn't see the targets at all. And, well, things get really bad in that campaign a little bit further in, because you start getting a whole host of night missions where, even on a good day, I can't see shit. I'm going to probably give that another crack and start playing through the SU-33 missions, possibly through some of the other campaigns as well, and varying them up for the DCS content. So, as I said, the DCS content is coming along nicely and there will be more of it. Star Citizen as well. I know I've had a few messages saying, "Oi, make more Star Citizen content." I have 2 videos coming up at the moment. I'm slowly getting through reviewing the entirety of the Mustang series. The Mustang Delta is coming up next. I have one sitting in my hangar at the moment, ready for review. And then once that's complete, that Mustang Delta is going to become a Herald, which is one of the other more interesting ships that was released most recently. Now, I haven't bothered joining the PTU at this time because I've got to download the whole client, and it's huge and massive, and my net connection can't afford it at this time. That said, I have been speaking to a few people from Australia that have managed to connect through and are using the new Australian servers. For those of you who are only sort of following at a distance, the Australian servers were supposed to come in 2.6.2, but they've actually been brought forward and they're going to be available in 2.6.1, which is currently in sort of the final batch of test runs that they do before it goes live into the patch. So there are people that are on the PTU or the private test universe at the moment that are connecting to the Australian servers, and by all accounts they are fantastic. Occasionally a little hard to connect to at the moment, but once you connect to them, latency is beautiful. But anyways, yes, the Mustang Delta and the Herald coming up, and I am going to steal a friend's Caterpillar at some time and walk over that ship. I've had a look around that ship once already, and it is amazingly beautiful and interestingly designed at the same time. So I do want to cover that and actually have a good look at it with you guys. So anyways, for everything else in regards to games, they are ticking along in terms of content creation pretty much exactly as I want them to. War Thunder is an interesting one. I'm sure I'm going to get the question in the comments, so I'll address it now. All of the new battle rating changes that have been popping up, some of them are quite serious in terms of how they're going to change the game. Now, I'm still looking over them all at this time, and the thing is, it's important to remember that none of the proposed battle rating changes are finalised. That's why they're proposed changes. I'm sort of holding off judgment. There's a lot of good stuff in here. There's a couple of things that I'm not entirely keen on. Overall, I think most of them are actually okay. Just to give you a clearance where I'm sitting at now, but I'm holding judgment and really making a video on all the changes until I've actually seen what goes in. But as I said, I'm not entirely against everything that I'm seeing there at this point. That's just where my head's sitting at the moment. There is some stuff in there that I think is long overdue. And so, the last couple of things to discuss in this video, and this is going to be, it's actually something that I've sort of never covered with you guys before, so just to keep you informed. First things first, for those who have been paying attention to the comment sections and the video details, will notice that I have a partnership with Loot Crate now. I actually received my first Loot Crate in December, but I haven't been able to make a video on it just because it arrived right in the middle of the Christmas New Year's bullshit, and I just did not have time to cover it, and by the time I sort of got the time, the crate had already been out for a month. The Firefly crates come bi-monthly, so they're not every single month, they're every second month. And to top it off, I received them about 2 weeks after they come out, so they're late to get to me. However, I am expecting another one to arrive in the next couple of days, so I will be doing a Loot Crate unboxing video. We'll be going through everything inside the box live. I'll try and also show you the stuff from the previous crate as well and make it a bit of a thing. If you're a fan of the series, there really is some merchandising in there that I've just never seen before, and I have a miniature model of Serenity now, which is fantastic to go into my model collection. But anyways, if you see a Loot Crate video pop up on the channel, don't be surprised. If you're a fan of Firefly, I strongly recommend you actually come in and check it out. They're kind of fantastic. I will try and make sure that is a double video day as well, so I will try and do a gameplay video that I upload alongside the Loot Crate video, so that when both of them land, for those of you who are not interested in the Loot Crate at all, you can just jump over to the main video and watch that. For those of you who are interested to see what's inside these things, well, you'll have 2 videos to watch that day. Now, the second thing I want to run over with everybody here is sponsored content on the channel. At this point, just to make sure everything is perfectly clear, I have not done any sponsored content yet. It's not for the lack of being asked whether or not I'm interested. I usually get about 2 offers for sponsored content a week for the channel at this point. And I've already set myself some rules in regards to it. Basically, first things first, if the game doesn't look like something that I would personally play, if it doesn't look like it's particularly good quality or a particularly interesting game, I won't be covering it on the channel. Simple as that. Second thing is, if it's not something that I think my demographic of viewers is going to be interested in, I also won't cover it. I have a fairly good idea what you guys like, although you do occasionally surprise me with stuff, but that being said, yeah, if it's something that I don't feel you guys would be here for, I'm not going to do it. That being said, a couple of games have popped up on my radar that may be interesting to some people, and I'm considering potentially doing a sponsored video or two, only for those select few that actually meet my criteria. If I choose to, I just want to make it perfectly clear, the videos will be clearly tagged and it will be mentioned in the video that this is sponsored content. There will be 100% transparency on that. I just, at this point, I haven't done any, and I wanted to make sure you guys were aware, and also to get your feeling for that kind of stuff, because it's an area that I haven't had to deal with. Oh, one other thing, I do also avoid anything that could be a potential conflict of interest for what I do on the channel. I know some of you have noticed that I appear to be one of the few YouTubers that covers War Thunder content that doesn't have the Golden Eagles app on the front of the videos. Why is that? Well, that's another one I have been offered several times and I keep turning it down because I do critical content from time to time on Gaijin, and that Golden Eagles app, that company has a direct deal with Gaijin Entertainment, and I feel like that's just a no-no. So yeah, anything I feel is a conflict of interest with what I do, not interested, don't want it on the channel. So anyways, just wanted to put up a little bit of transparency about that. If I do any sponsored video content, it will be marked as sponsored. Any of the Loot Crate videos obviously will be clearly marked Loot Crate. You'll know what they are. I do recommend, if you're a Firefly fan, still checking those out. They're worth it. And bi-monthly, you get 6 crates in a year, and there's some pretty cool stuff in them. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching. Hope to keep you up to date with everything that's going on here at Mags TV. The next one of these will be at about the same time in March. As I said, trying to do one of these once a month. Next video up will probably be KSP. I will have Civilization up within the next 3 days, and I have 2 War Thunder videos and a DCS video that I'm currently working on as well. So that will probably total out most of the coming week's worth of content. Unless you guys are interested in seeing some more of what's going on in the background on the main channel. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think of that. Anyways, ladies and gents, click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more, fly smart, fly safe, and I will catch you in the skies.